Welcome to the 199 podcast, where we are equipping the 99 to bring the one back home. I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and we bring this podcast to you from the beautiful city of Baltimore and Redemption City Church. And I have my co-host here with me, Grant Dawson. Grant, tell the people hi.
What is going on?
Grant, we are here with another episode, and I think in large demand, we did an evangelism training, and we heard from some folks about like some things that they'd like to hear about, not only in the podcast, but then specifically, one of those things was fear, how to deal with fear. And then we even hit the drop down on the word fear. And we're like, well, what fears do you have? And I think that's what we're going to be talking about today here. If I had a goal, an objective, I want the Christian to recognize that one, fear is a normal aspect of what it means to live the Christian life. And I want them to know it's normal because we don't live this life in the absence of fear. We actually live it in spite of it. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Let me tell you a quick story. Have you ever heard of a guy named Brother Andrew?
No.
Brother Andrew was, his full name was Andrew Vanderbijl. He was a Dutch man, born in 1928 in the Netherlands. Came to Christ later on in his life. He was a soldier, I think after World War II, served in World War II. And later on, what he ended up doing was he ended up smuggling Bibles during the Cold War to communist countries.
Interesting.
His nickname is the God Smuggler. That's dope.
That is a dope nickname.
His nickname is the God Smuggler. So what he ended up doing was he would load Bibles into his little blue Volkswagen, and he would have to go through checkpoints. He has a story where he says he went through a checkpoint, and he would pray this all the time as he's going through checkpoints. He said, "To the God who makes blind eyes see, would you make seeing eyes blind?" Because he's going through this checkpoint, and they're searching his car, and he has to get through this checkpoint with them not knowing that he's smuggling Bibles in. Because he found out that behind the Iron Curtain, there was a host of Christians. There was a church there growing, thriving, and not having Bibles. There was one underground church that was literally sharing one page of a chapter, and they would share it between 40 people.
That is insane.
And so he went in there and he would smuggle it. And so he has a story. You can look him up, Brother Andrew. And there was a quote that he said that really hit me. He said, people kept calling him brave. And he said, it's not bravery. It was obedience that hadn't caught up to my fear. That's profound, isn't it?
That is profound.
I mean, I think about...
That is...
Yeah.
He had that on lock. He was thinking about that for
it's
a while.
It's a bar. It's a bar. And so I want to be able to state the common fears that we have as Christians, because I think one of the crippling aspects of evangelism, it's not fear itself. It's that the Christian doesn't think that they can talk about their fear because it makes them less Christian. Mm. They can't talk about what they're potentially afraid of in any given interaction because they feel like they shouldn't have that. Meanwhile, we exist as a body together to spur each other on amidst fear. So what do you think? We have some things here that we're going to talk about, but we talk about fears in being an evangelist, sharing good news, living as a Christian. What are some fears that come to mind?
It's, dude, coming from like a... It's so unfair because I get to like have like the insight of like learning for this podcast, learning because like it's both.
I mean, try to do
learning for the podcast, but also like in my own learning. Now I'm like, why now I want to learn more? Because like the Christian, like we're gonna be prosecuted. Like we know that going in, but like that is the total fear of like I'm being told like hey, you're gonna be prosecuted, but like I'm terrified of it. Like these are my peers. These are people I don't want to be hated by. Yeah. Because like you see videos online of somebody getting hate because they're sitting on a corner like talking about God, and you're like, I don't want that. Like I don't want my peers to judge me. So like I guess the judgment of it all. It could be the non-acceptance, the hate you could get, the hate you could see. Because like it's one thing to have your faith and it be a personal faith. And it's one thing to have it a public faith, but it's also one thing to have a public faith and everyone around you doesn't like it. Which, like, it can be tough for people to sit in that. Like all these people around me that I've grown, like say you're a new Christian, right? Like I go to work every day and I've known these people for years. And then I'm like, hey, like I'm a Christian now. And they're like, these people that I have respect for, these people that I care about their opinions are now like, ew.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like world shattering because like I put so much into the world and not into God.
Yeah.
It could be,
Man, you're hitting on something that's going to fuel a lot of episodes down the line. It's like I'm telling you, I sit at our worship service at Redemption City Church during baptisms, and man, those things make me weep.
I cry like a baby every time. Every time.
The testimonies of the decisions that people are making are testimonies that actually withstand all the things that you just talked about. It doesn't mean that there's still not fear in engaging or undergoing those things, but the testimony transcends those types of potential happenings in anybody's life. I have heard baptism testimonies that are like, you know, I was lonely and I came to this church and I found great community here. And I'm just so thankful. And it's like, hey.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. But that baptism, you've been baptized into friendship. Well, then what happens when people threaten you with taking that friendship away?
Literally, okay, 2 Sundays ago,
Yeah.
Pastor Matassa was talking, or maybe 3, but Pastor Matassa was talking about like the seeds being planted in like, I forget what chapter of Luke, but like the farmer throws these seeds out. Some land on the what is it? Oh, rocky, the thorns, the good soil, and there's one more. I listen.
Sand.
I swear, sand, and like like it doesn't grow deep roots, and then oh my gosh, everything's coming together right now.
Yeah.
That is. And like it is scary to see, like not scary, but like I'm like let's grow this more. I'm happy that you have enough to feel like you want to get baptized, but let's grow more. Yeah, and like I guess I am kind of peeking into that fear.
Even let me push back on that a little bit. The question is, do you have enough to feel like you want to get baptized? Like I mean, you make yourself think, what are you being baptized into? What is this baptism? Well, the baptism is this. Hey, Brandon, BC, he just died. That's a very big deal, right? It's not just a theological reality, it's reality. Brandon just died. Why is that significant? Well, what happens if people threaten to kill me? Can you imagine? I know that you got Jesus raising Lazarus, and Lazarus dies. There's so many angles to do around this. Lazarus dies. Jesus raises him for the sake of showing God's power and giving God glory, right? The unfortunate thing is Lazarus got to die again, But not only does he have to die again, he knows the guy who can bring him back to life. Can you imagine when Jesus brought Lazarus back to life for however long he was alive for his second stint in his physical flesh, sin-ridden body? Can you imagine somebody threatening to kill him? How much power would that possibly have on him? Nothing. I've experienced death and life again, and I know the one who can make it happen. So it's like, what exactly are we fighting to do as Christians? What we're fighting to do is we're fighting to realize the depth of those roots digging into the soil, clinging on to the branch, right? The divine branch in Christ. The one who makes us live, the one who comforts us, the one who brings us genuine joy and pleasure, rather than the fear of losing those things in this world, because we died already.
Every time I talk about baptisms, I learned something so much more. Like that's just a great way of viewing it. Like,
so why? Wow. We say this on this podcast that we want to wage war against the darkness with good news. And we are talking about fear. We're talking about warfare, and we're talking about fear. You want to know one of the most agonizing scenes of all time in any movie for me? It was Saving Private Ryan. You ever seen this?
I've seen Saving Private Ryan.
Do you know what scene I'm talking about?
Oh, I know exactly what scene you're talking about.
There's a soldier who is being attacked by a German. And his fellow comrade, American comrade, is in the hallway outside listening to this battle happen. He's listening to the German soldier have the upper hand. He's listening to the slowness of that German soldier's blade enter into his comrade and slowly kill him. But he's petrified with fear. He's petrified. And I think the common denominator, no matter what he would be able to say in that moment, the common denominator is this question: but what would happen to me?
Yeah. Because, like, he's equipped in that. He has everything to do to stop that. Yeah. He has the training for it. He has the equipment for it. He has everything in front of him to do, like a Christian would.
Right.
You could get all this training. You have the book in front of you.
Right.
But once the situation arises, once you have to apply what you've learned, once you have to apply what you believe, is it that easy?
Right. And here's the thing. I think that that's something that we can all relate to if anybody's ever seen that scene. Now, some people could be like Peter, where they could be like a little bit naive, like, man, I would have jumped in there and helped him. I would never sit by, whatever. And maybe that's true for a lot of people. But there, a lot of people can relate to that mentality of saying, that's scary. I don't know what I would have done in that moment. And when we think about this spiritual war, and we think about the reality of the possessors of good news, not only good news where it's like, oh, it can make people happy. We're talking about power, an arsenal that is incomparable, that has been given to us by the King of Glory, this arsenal that we have that is not carnal, but it's spiritual, and it's strong enough, as Paul says, to tear down fortresses. And yet we are petrified in the hallway while the blade slowly destroys the people around us.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing a podcast on evangelism and dealing with fear. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. I imagine if other soldiers came into that hallway with that brother, they're like, man, let's go get this guy.
Let's go together.
Let's go together.
Yeah.
He's like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. So that's what we're doing here. First one, fear. People have a fear of seeming foolish. Do you relate to that? Hey, I don't really want to talk about God. I don't really want to, be an evangelist in any way. There's a spectrum of what it means to be an evangelist, a possessor of good news. But people are like, I'm afraid of being a fool, seeming foolish.
Are these points you have, are these from the people at the trainings at the church?
Yes.
That's super cool.
Yes.
How many? Okay, just
Come on, man.
Breaking the third wall. How many people were there? Let's globe.
35 to 40. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
It is.
And so you got these from the 35 to 40 people that came that were specifically coming to see about evangelism and learn more.
Yeah.
That's dope.
That is dope. That is dope.
Okay.
And I wish I could have included everything that they said here, but we just have this certain amount of time. If you guys want a 6-hour podcast from us, a la Mike Winger style, then let us know. So seeming foolish, common fear. It's a common fear. Here is the convicting piece. The convicting piece is at the surface, or I would say at the foundation of every one of these fears is an exaltation of man. We have to realize that. We have to realize that. That's not to say, oh, man, you're just exalted man. Get over it and get out there. We're going to deal with this gently, as surgeons should. But one piece of that we need to know is, hey, the higher man is exalted, the more and more you're going to have fears on doing things that put you out in discord with man, even if you're a possessor of the greatest message ever known to man.
Yeah.
It's gonna petrify you.
Okay.
The late pastor and preacher and church planter Vodi Bakum was teaching at the Ark Museum. I think it's like in Kentucky. It's like the Noah's Ark Museum. I forget where that is.
I don't know where that is either.
It's in like the Midwest somewhere, like, flat place. But
Kentucky Midwest, I do not know if that counts.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, but it's in Kentucky somewhere. The Midwest Kentucky, in like northern Texas. No, but And he's teaching, but as he's introduced with all his credentials. I mean, that's a reality we live in. We live in a credentialistic world. Even if Christians are, haughty-taughty to say, oh, I don't care about the credentials. You care about the credentials, man. You care.
How many doctorates you got?
Yeah, right.
Let me hear it.
And so he's a doctor. He has a PhD. He studied at Oxford. And so they put that all in his intro. And he said, studied at Oxford and he'd received this, and please welcome up Dr. Vodi Bakum. And so they applaud, and he comes up and he says, it's always funny listening to the intro because I went to other schools as well before Oxford, and those never really get mentioned. It's always, and he's not slandering them. He's just really encouraging them. And he says, yes, I studied at Oxford. I did receive degrees from Oxford. But I don't want you to put so much weight into these credentials. He says, because do you know what they call an Oxford graduate who has a PhD, who believes in the existence of the one true and living God who created the earth and everything in it and the universe in 7 days, 6 actually rested on 7. Do you know what they call him?
What do they call him?
An idiot. That's what they call him. You're an idiot. And you will be an idiot. Because the world sees this as foolish. As Paul says, the gospel is foolish to those who are perishing. And so we have to know that there is an inherent fool in you as a Jesus follower. The fear of seeming foolish ought to be set free by this reality. You're a fool. What else is new? That comes with the territory. It says the Greeks demand wisdom, right? And it's a stumbling block for Jews or the religious or whatever, I guess, if you want to impart that. But we have this fear of seeming foolish. And I think the first thing we need to know, the building block, is that, hey, on the basis of you claiming Jesus Christ as the King of glory who lived, died, rose again, and will return, and that salvation that everybody has a sense of in their desires is found in him and only him. On that basis, you are a fool. So you may as well go out there and prove them right. That's one. The cross is foolishness to the world. Paul also says in Romans 1:16, I think it's related to this. He says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. It's the power of God unto salvation for those who believe. And I think that's a very big deal, because when we're afraid of being fools, there's something about the gospel through the eyes of the world we've begun to believe. So what are some things that you've probably heard from people who are non-Christian about Christians? Whether it be people you know, maybe just social messaging, whatever it is. What are
just
some
in general?
Yeah, just in general.
Like they expect. I feel like everyone I talk to, they're expecting judgment immediately. They expect to be, if they're talking to a Christian, they expect, if you're not living the Christian way, if you're not living the way with God, you're not living any of that, no matter your religion, background, or anything, they're like, I expect judgment.
Yeah.
They expect Christians to judge other Christians. They expect Christians to judge everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough to watch, tough to hear, because I'm like, because then I'm at work and I'm like, yeah, like, no, like, I'm just happy to be here, happy to be talking to you.
Yeah.
They fear that they can't talk to me about stuff, like friends that are gay, friends that are any assortment of that. They're like, I don't want to talk to you about it. And I'm like, or like, I feel like I shouldn't talk to you about it. And I'm like, why? Like, I'm here for you. Like, we're friends because I want to know what's going on in your life. Right, I put this aside for a second. We can have a conversation as people, and it's just, I mean, that's just this world. Yeah, is that it wants to divide. It wants people to not feel close. And I mean, there are Christians that do that, but it's for the same reason there's non-Christians that do that.
I think one thing that contributes to this fear of being a fool or being embarrassed is the rise of the social media apologist, right? People think about the apologist and it's like you're quick on your feet, you're witty, you got all the answers. Somebody says this and you come with this profound response. And then you conflate that with the like clapback culture of social media where people actually aren't talking to each other, they're talking at one another, right?
That's interesting.
They're trying
that's
to
exactly
score
what they're
points.
doing. Yeah.
You're trying to score points. And then you're in this comment section where so many eyes are on it and you can see it. And people are knowing that as they're commenting and they're like, yeah, I'm going to show you. I'm here to bring you life through Jesus Christ, but right now I'm trying to kill you. That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean they're after being correct rather than than having a conversation. They're not looking for a interpersonal conversation or interaction or anything. They're looking to prove their point and get out.
And I think that mentality is what is brought into our conversations with any individual. It's a toxic mentality because when you talk to anybody, you meet somebody at the grocery store, you're just talking, do you ever think, even though in that moment you are still a son of the living God, do you ever think that you have to have all the answers? Does that thought even come to mind? But that's a fear. And that's a fear of the folly people have, fear of being foolish that people have. Hey, I might not have all the answers to the questions that people ask. Yeah. Welcome to humanity. Duh.
If I could, I'd love it. Like,
right.
Yeah. I mean, like, that was one of the big things that got me to be less fearful of literally that, because that was one of my big things of, like, I don't want to bring this up to my friends. I don't want to bring this up with family. I don't want to bring this up to coworkers. Like, they're going to ask me a question. I'm not going to know every apologetic argument. I'm not going to know every little thing about the Bible. They're going to quote me some scripture that I don't know. I won't know if they're misquoting it. I don't know the times it's from, the context. And I overthink it, and I get all the way down to it, and then I'm like, oh, so then I just won't have this conversation. I'm like, well, that's not the goal either.
Yeah.
And, like, there's some Joel from our church, Joel Simon. He gave me this amazing thing to say, because I asked him a question. He was like, "Oh, I don't know the answer. Like, I'll get back to you," and leave it there. Like,
you know what's interesting about that?
Yeah,
the second thing paired with a fear, like connected to the fear of being foolish, is not having all the answers, and the other one was not appearing confident. I have a fear of being foolish because I claim this thing, I profess this thing, but now I'm sitting here in this kind of like lack of confidence. And you know, one way that somebody can seem confident is by confidently saying, "Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that."
Yeah, like I'm not going to know every worldview, every background, I'm going to have a friend that's coming to me that's Hindu and is going to have different questions as somebody that is Muslim or somebody that is atheist.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to know every single one of them. I mean, I'd love to, and my goal is to, and like that, like if I'm able to, that would be amazing. And more than like the more people I run into that I don't know your point of view or like your question, and I'm going to learn it. I'm going to learn a new thing in somebody else. Like there's only one way to start learning.
You think that you would be more favorable around people as somebody who has all the answers or somebody who doesn't? I don't know. I mean,
don't know.
Again, I know it depends on the person, but I'm just saying, would more and more people, like after meeting you, think, man, I love that guy. He has all the answers.
He's just a know-it-all.
He knows everything. Oh, and he corrects me on it all. It just feels so good. Now it's not a problem to be knowledgeable, right? It's not. That's actually very good.
It's the way to hold yourself to it.
But even those who are knowledgeable are gentle with their knowledge, right? That word gentle is power under total control. Knowledge is power. Wow, that just sounded like a 90s education commercial. But it's true. It's true.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to make up a quote right now straight from me. Those with great power have great response. No. So, yeah, I would say, concluding on that fear, the fear of being a fool is rooted in an exaltation of man. That's one. Number two, as a Christian living in a dying world, that's the reality of it. We have to know that reality. You are a fool. The Bible tells us you are a fool from the perspective of men who don't know, man as in humans, who don't know the truth of Jesus and the gospel and how he takes dead men and makes them living. You are a fool. So it's best to just walk in that with truth, humility, and honoring the Lord and knowing that the old you has died and you are now alive in Christ.
Yeah.
And you are living still here on this world to live amongst the dead for that reason. For that reason, you don't have to have all the answers, but you can point people to the one who does. And you don't have to, or you can appear confident as one who doesn't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Because it's like, hey, this is my profession. I trust Jesus.
I mean,
I'm flawed.
There's
I'm
something even
imperfect.
powerful in it where it's just like, I don't know, I can find the answer, or I don't know, let's find the answer together. Mm-hmm. Like, let's go to like a pastor and let's ask him,
Right.
or let's go through the Bible ourselves and like figure it out. Like, or let's Google it together. Like, we'll look this up. We'll look up context. I think looking up like certain things, it might not always make sense to look up like, what's the Bible say on this very specific thing, but rather what book is related to this?
Yeah.
What book should I read through with this person? Like, hey, like if you are truly interested and want to have like a real conversation and understand what the Christian belief is behind this, let's read about it. It's in this book right here. It's in this book right there. Like,
And there is the potential, high potential, that maybe somebody just wants to call you a fool. And they're not actually interested in the truth, and that's okay.
yeah.
And guess what? You are not looking for the approval of man. You're not seeking human approval. You have gotten the approval of the creator of all things.
Yeah.
We have to rest in that. And guess what? We forget that. We're wayward. We're sheep.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we need one another.
Yep.
We need to be in the hallway with each other. Like, man, let's go together. Let's remember together.
Yeah.
We come back dragging ourselves to Sunday worship service to be reminded of God's goodness. Don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed of your weakness and your neediness. Otherwise, why on earth is it good news that you have a Father in heaven who gives good gifts to his children, who comforts his children, right? Why would that be good news? Because we need it. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. Don't be afraid to admit that fear and walk in the truth that opposes that fear. The next one, popular one. Fear of rejection. People have an anxiety about being excluded, losing relationships. Now, there's something you mentioned, I think in whenever you were talking about in the last one, that serves as extra fear fuel for this one, the fear of being rejected. This is also connected. You'll see a trend here.
Yeah.
This is also connected to accepting a social narrative about Christianity versus the truth of what it means to be a follower of Christ and everything else. You've accepted a narrative through the perspective of those who are outside of Christianity versus accepting what the Father has said about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, like to a point, like an easy answer, which like doesn't work for everybody, but has been working for me lately is like, if I was worried that I'm gonna not be enjoyed, not be liked, be hated even by somebody that was close with, and then found out I'm Christian, do I really care? Like, all right, hear me out. Like this person, like this coworker, this friend, like if they're gonna hate me because of a decision I've made, then like they're gonna hate me for something else.
Yeah, so 100% that's true. And now let me be the listener.
Yeah.
The listener is, I believe that, I just don't feel that in real time.
Yeah.
The reality is I actually care about my relationships, and there's a part of me that doesn't want to care in a way where it gives me crippling fear to like state my convictions and things like that, but I do.
Yeah.
I do. And how do I fight against that? Well, you fight against the fear of being rejected the same way with the fear of being a fool with Scripture. That's why we need Scripture. That's why we need to remember what's true. There are aspects, I think, when it comes down to the New Testament, there's narrative. There's biographical narrative in the New Testament. That's what the Gospels are. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those are narratives. That's the genre of those texts. But then when you get into old letters called epistles, and when you get into kind of like didactic teaching that Paul does, you can break up a lot of those texts into two categories: indicatives and imperatives. The indicatives are just saying what's true. This is what is. This is what is. Paul talks about what it means to be blessed by God with every spiritual blessing. He talks about that in Ephesians 1. In Ephesians 2, he says, hey, you need to be humble about the fact that you're children of God, because before being children of God, you were children of wrath. By nature, you were children of wrath. And you didn't do anything to be saved. It was grace that actually saved you. These are all indicatives. He's painting a picture of what's true. And we need to read those things, and we need to grasp those things, because when it gets down to the imperatives are the do statements. You need to do these things. Go, do this, be this. Those are action statements. And when we aren't connected to the indicatives, it's hard to live and do things as a Christian. Otherwise, you just become this religious zealot that feels like you have to do stuff in order to be a good Christian, rather than you're bleeding from the reality of the indicatives. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so because I am this saved individual, and because of the basis upon which I'm saved and the means through which I'm saved, grace through Jesus Christ, I am compelled to tell people about this. I am compelled. And I think a lot of times people feel the pressure of the do when it comes down to evangelism. Mm-hmm. And they aren't rooted in the indicatives of what's true. And so they're stuck. And they're like, oh, man, I have a fear of being rejected, though. They say, well, all right, that's cool. Let's go back to the indicatives. Let's go back to what's true. Here's what's true. Jesus says this: if the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
That's important to know. I think in those moments when
that's even realizing where some of the hate's coming from.
Yeah.
Is like, they're not hating you.
Correct.
They're hating the one that they already have a belief about, the one they already have an opinion about. That it's not that you are not liked more, it's that they have a predisposed opinion.
Right. Right. See, if you were of the world, Jesus continues, the world would love you as its own. That's that tug we have in our heart. We have in our heart a desire to be loved by the world. Even, man, we even do this in the Christian modern American church, where it's like we maneuver and we try to do things because the ultimate goal, whether it's stated explicitly or not explicitly, is to be accepted by the world. So how can we, in a covert way, do things where the world accepts us? And it's like, that's a faulty mindset.
It's impossible.
Yeah. You can't hold to your profession and be accepted by the world, because the world will only accept you if you belong to it. And if you belong to it, well, then your profession is void.
Yeah.
It's void.
Yeah. I think one of the things I think about, like, is when somebody doesn't like what I'm saying, or like what I'm believing or something like that. Like, it's like, yeah, like their opinion, what I was just saying is like, their opinion isn't, what they're angry about isn't really me. It's not that they're mad at me for this belief. It's that they have something else going on, and the predisposed opinion. Mm-hmm. But you can still grow them in that. Yeah. You can still be there for them in that. You can be another heat source, melting a frozen heart.
Yeah. Let me, man, you just made me think about something. Let me say these scriptures and then give a follow up on what you just said. We also have Romans 8:31. What then shall we say of these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Now, the practical answer, everybody. But the implication is, what does it matter? That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
If God is for me, what does it even mean that you, a mere human being, are against me? So where's the discrepancy when that leads to crippling fear? The discrepancy is, you probably need to behold the beauty of the Lord, because you don't have a firm grasp on what it means that he's for you.
Yeah.
That should melt away the fears of what it means that man is against you. So that's a practical thing. Hey, why don't you spend some time with the Lord? And I'm not saying, carve out a Saturday, remember who the Lord is. It means that you probably have a rhythm of not beholding the beauty of who the Lord is. You should do that. behold that. Be able to look into the heavens and ponder the way David pondered when he's looking at the cosmos and he's like, what the heck is man that you're mindful of him? I mean, look at this. Why do you even remember us, oh God? You can do that.
Yeah.
And I know I can do the things that I've done, and yet you're mindful and you remember me. To be able to marvel on who God is actually something that builds resilience against man's rejection. It says in Psalm 27, for my father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in. My father and my mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in.
I mean, that goes to like the point you were saying at the beginning of like somebody that's coming, like this pullback, there's somebody being baptized and like they're there for friendship. The people around you can and will fail you.
Yes.
And if your belief is on people,
Yes.
it won't work.
Yes.
Somebody will fail you. If the pastor you're following were to have some scandal come out, are we done?
Yeah. That's a big deal. What is your profession? What is your profession is the question. And you need to think about that when it comes down to people who say, hey, I don't like what the Bible says about sexuality. I don't like what the Bible says about men and women. And it's like, and so then if their conclusion is, therefore, I'm leaving my faith, well, then their profession was in something else.
Something else the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time.
And it was still a worldly belief. They're still wanting to get like,
Correct.
I am applying the Bible where I feel comfortable,
Correct.
not my entire life.
And when it's rooted in kind of like that creed that we see in 1 Corinthians 15, that, hey, Jesus, who was born of a virgin, who died, as the scriptures say, and rose again, as the scriptures say, and there's veracity to this statement because of the fact that I'm writing this, he appeared to 500 other people and his key followers, all of whom were still alive, or most of whom were still alive when Paul was writing that. And one thing we don't have in history is one person saying, nah, I was there. None of that happened. We don't have that in history. We have people trying to explain away why we can't find Jesus' body, but we don't have somebody saying that didn't happen. So what does that mean? That is the anchor of our profession. That this man who claims to be God rose again from the dead, and he is the one in whom we find true life in this life now and in the next. That's what we're holding on to, and we're wayward and we forget it. That's why we need to be reminded of it.
Yeah.
And that would help extinguish the fear of rejection. You mentioned something, and then we'll go to the last one. You said you can be a warm source to melt away cold hearts. I've experienced powerful moments in heated points of relationship I have with people. Those powerful moments come through their rejection of me. Because when people reject me, now I have an opportunity to be loving towards people who reject me. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to be used to that.
No. And like they might not let you see it right in the moment.
No,
because they do not want you to see it.
No.
Some people will, but a lot of people won't. And like, just know that you change somebody's heart with that.
Yes.
There is, and you might not ever see it. Mm-hmm. And that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
And you should be perfectly happy with that.
Correct.
But knowing that you are spreading what God believes and like is teaching us and is like, treat your neighbors how you want to be treated, that kind of a thing. Like, same thing with like, I always think about like going to work and that kind of a thing. And I'm like, I don't want to go to work today. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, I should serve under my boss and do what they're telling me. And like, essentially like condition them to be like, I always want to hire Christians because they always do like work the way the work ethic is. Yeah, that was a tangent.
No, that was good. Now, man, and you're right. You're right. I mean, what else is connected to the essence of being a Jesus follower than loving those who reject you? What else is there? We're talking about the one who formed humans, gave them breath only for them to utilize that breath to curse him. And he comes and dies while we were sinners. We know that God loves us because while we were sinners, Christ died for us.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity to walk in that amidst rejection. And so I would say that in this spiritual warfare, if people are keeping track, you can know that the voices of love, comfort, gentleness, and truth and power are silenced as an enemy tactic. It's an enemy tactic. I would say probably one of the most significant of those tactics is our last fear that was brought up. It is, can you guess what it is? Did you already see it?
No, I didn't see it.
Can you guess what do you think it is?
Oh, I don't know. You've hit the big ones for me.
Let's see if this was a big one. The fear of offending others.
Interesting.
They seem connected.
These all 100% seem connected.
These were all individually stated.
Yeah.
Because they dwell individualized in people's minds, right?
I think it's super easy for people to. For some people that are listening to this, we're probably over broadening everything. Where it's just like I could paint these all under one light. Mm-hmm. Where like these are all very similar to one another. Mm-hmm. These are like, and you can have similar responses to each one of them, but like they were asked individually for a reason because somebody's struggling with one and can't see the connections to the other. And so like getting a personal answer, because like this podcast is going to give answers to some people, but some people are going to have such a deep question about it, like pushing, like I'm gonna say it right now, like.
And this is my recommendation to people who are listening or watching and listening. Leave us comments about those things. Like, tell us, let us know. Leave comments, ask questions, send us questions, because this podcast is directly for you. It is for you. I want to explicitly state, in a world of platform building and content creation, I know we are using cameras and microphones. We're not interested in that. We're interested in equipping the church to go out into the world and bring light to the darkness. And we want to serve you in that. So please send us your thoughts, your questions, your feedback so that we can respond to you in those things.
What you said was way better than I was going to say.
Offending people worried about offending others. They have a fear of speaking the truth will hurt or alienate people. Now there's a lot of, I actually hate this word because of how overused it is, but I'm about to use it. There's a lot of nuance to this. There's a lot of nuance to this. Because there's a difference when we talk about offending someone. Technically speaking, I can be offensive. Yes, I can be offensive. But whether or not you're offended is actually outside of my control. We need to know that. It's outside of my control. I mean, in the world of, hills to die on, the era of hills to die on, people can be offended about everything. Talani and I had some people over years ago one time, and I'm probably about to offend somebody right now. They had finished seltzer water, because when I moved to Silver Spring from here, I got bougie, and I started drinking seltzer water. Waterloo. Send that sponsorship. No, and somebody had just finished the seltzer water and asked, "Hey, where's your recycling?"
Oh man!
And we were like, "Oh, we don't recycle. You can throw it in the trash." And they're like, "You don't recycle?" And they were offended by that. I mean, they really started to talk about us, about the importance of. I'm not about to dive into that rabbit hole here. However, they were offended. Now, what should be our response in that? Should our response in that to be, we need to appease this person. Yeah. We need to make sure that we make things right because they were offended. If you do that, you will kill yourself. You will destroy yourself out of a desire to appease everybody. And it's not because of how tired you'll get. It's because of coming to the realization that you won't appease them.
Yeah.
There will always be something to be offended by.
Yeah. And I mean, like, some things are, and that isn't to say, like, you shouldn't bring things up.
100%.
But that it's also to say that there's, what you're saying. Like if you do every single thing that someone comes to you, I mean, like, should you recycle? I think you should recycle. We'll talk about that later. But there's some things that people are going to come to, and it's just like, brother, that's just my belief. So, like, if you're offended by me talking about my belief and that I'm going to church, me bringing up that I'm going to church is what is offending you. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that it offends you, but, like, I'm not going to stop.
Well, it becomes more important. We can talk about the trivial things that people get offended, and I don't know. I would say that for me, well, let's just do it for the sake of time. What we're talking about is warfare. Now, what does it mean that people who are Christians who possess the truth of the gospel, this is the statement: I actually am afraid of speaking life into a dying world because people will tell me that they're offended by it and they'll get mad at me. If that doesn't sound like an enemy tactic, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
If it doesn't sound like the people who have life-giving news are the ones crippled by fear in speaking, because guess what? There are a lot of people who have death in the tongue, and they're not crippled by fear in saying it. There are a lot of people who actually speak nice and they're flattering, and it's still death in the tongue, and they're not afraid of saying it. Politicians, different teachers, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to give an example later on. We're going to go through a real life case study on the fear of offending others and just really highlight some things. But here's a good biblical response. 1, speaking the truth will offend others. 1, because it's not ours. 2, because he is offensive. And in case people didn't catch that hint in the second one, 3, he's a person. It will offend others. People need to know that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think some people might even misconstrued what offense is.
Correct.
Because, like, this is changing people's world belief, and people don't like to change.
100%.
This is changing what should be the base of what you do, like, where you find self-value.
Yes.
And it's changing that is hard. Even changing from one worldly thing to another worldly thing is hard for people.
100%.
And now I'm saying, like, all these worldly things you're switching between don't matter.
Don't matter.
And you should not be putting your worth in those things. Like, if you put your worth into work, if you put your worth into school, if you put your worth into whatever, it's going to fail you. And I'm like, there's one better than that. Yeah. And it's something that they've heard before. And they're like, nah. And yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. 100%. We have lights shining in our face right now. Right? We have lights shining in our face because I'm about to touch on the rebuttal. The rebuttal is, but they are Christians who are just mean and nasty. Yeah, that's true. And the worldly response is to say, therefore, people who tell the truth are by nature mean and nasty. So stop telling the truth. That's baby and bathwater gone. Right? The scriptures already tell us what to do with the bathwater, and it gives us clear instruction on what to do with the bathwater. Okay? Make it nice and cozy at about 97 degrees. No, but what was I saying? That's what people will say with the rebuttal. Right now, we have light. That is what we're called to be in this world, light. The fear of offending people is succumbing to the demand to not be light because of how obstructive it is, right? Because of how offensive it is. We currently have light in our face right now. It's actually very helpful. It's helping people to see us. It's helpful for what we're doing. If you would have plugged these lights on in my room at 2 a.m., I'd be upset with you.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with what the lights are.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with what I want in that moment. I want sleep. I want my eyes closed. I don't want it interrupted.
Yeah.
And you, first of all, how'd you get in my house?
I mean, like another even like metaphor for this is like for the woodworkers out there, when you are trying to stain a wood or put another coat of stain or another clear coat on a piece of wood, you have to scuff the surface. It needs to be. You have to use something abrasive to get ready for the next layer, to get ready to grow, to get ready for the light.
Yeah.
Like it's not something easy to accept.
No, 100%. And we know we have this in the scriptures, and I think we need to be reminded of it to combat the rebuttal of the abrasive Christian. Well, one, we know that our Christianness, our being found in Christ, is actually recognized by fruit, right? if you are loving, and we have a definition of love in 1 Corinthians 13, like if you're kind, if you're patient, if you're gentle, if you lack those things, well, then I think you don't need to be listening to this podcast on how to evangelize and overcome fear. You need to excavate your heart.
Yeah.
You need to have the heart of David where he says, search me and know me. Tell me, is there any grievous way within me? And lead me in the way of everlasting. We have to have that desire in us so that we aren't consumed with what the world says about us. We're consumed and concerned with what the Lord is saying about us. And it's actually worse for the Lord to say, you're not of me, than for the world to say you're not of me. It's significantly worse.
Yeah.
So we need to be concerned with that. And we know that no matter what, that we need to have our speech seasoned with salt. It says that in Colossians 4. In Ephesians 4, we need to speak the truth in love. Peter tells us in 1 Peter 3:15 that we always need to be willing to tell people why we're the fools we are. Why do we have this hope within us? And that when you're telling them this, do it with gentleness and respect. The scriptures give us the guideline, but it never says, stay in the hallway and let the knife slowly enter in. No. Be light. Jesus explicitly says, why would you hide your light under a basket? He explicitly says, be salt. Salt preserves. Salt enhances. But salt also irritates. Salt breaks down. That's why when it's about to have an ice storm, people get the salt trucks out. It's got to tear some stuff down. I know the ice is not sitting there thinking, oh, this feels so good. Like, no, that's not happening. But that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. And the scriptures and the Lord doesn't tell us not to be light and salt. It tells us how. And so when we have a fear of offending people, we've adopted a definition of offending. We're actually more concerned with people taking offense than we are concerned with whether or not we're offensive. Those are two different things.
That is very well put.
Yeah. Those are two different things. How do we persevere in this? Well, Paul tells us in Colossians 3, you let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom. Sing songs and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. He also tells us in Ephesians 3:14 that he says that he prays that Christ would dwell richly in you, rooting you with power through his Spirit to comprehend the inexplicable vastness of his love for you. That's Christ's love for you. A love that gives you true knowledge of him, a knowledge that surpasses head knowledge. And it surpasses head knowledge because it's experiential knowledge. This experiential knowledge, every fear that we have, every crippling thing that petrifies us and keeps us wanting to hide our light in this world, it's rooted in not knowing just how vast Christ's love for us is. So Paul talks about, I pray that you would know just the breadth, the length, the height, the depth of the love of Jesus.
Yeah.
I pray that you would know that. And we need to know that. You can have some practical ways of kind of working through the fear of offending people. You can ask people about sharing. If it's okay if you share. You can listen first. Be slow to speak.
Yeah.
The scripture tells us. Quick to listen. You can use questions and not accusations. Questions. I love these 3 questions. This comes from Greg Koukl. Tactics. It comes from a book called Tactics, Greg Koukl. You can be in the most heated conversation, the most sensitive discussion. It doesn't matter. And you can be more inviting with your being a truth teller than anything. We can talk about anything. And I think a popular one that people would ask me when I was living in an apartment community with my wife, we would invite people to our house and people would say, is homosexuality a sin? And people hear that and they're like, see, that's what I mean. Oh, it's happening. Oh, is it hot in here? Is it hot in here? And people, the flaw people have in that is they jump right in. Either yes, no. Now, you can do that. I think if you say no, you're wrong. However, That's different. There's something behind that question.
Yeah, like what's bringing that question to light?
What's bringing that question to light? So my initial response is a question. What do you mean by that? Now, instead of me assuming what the drop down is when I click it and answering it, you go ahead and lead us in that.
It's going to be it's going to be a more impactful question for them.
Correct.
It's going to lead to a more directed conversation, and it's not just broaching a topic that is as sensitive for most. Like 100%. It's going to be about the, like, 'cause very clearly if they're asking this question, they have some amount of like something inside of them questioning it. Mm-hmm. And so then they want to find out that something. And if you say the whole topic no, and you try to shut it down immediately, like, yeah, like they're probably not going to be very receptive.
Correct.
But if you go to the point where they're trying to figure out what the answer is, and you're like, well, and then maybe let's read into that. Or like, I wouldn't think that part right there is. And then it boils back up to the very top question. Then they can do that on their own time.
They can do that on their own. And guess what? It's also helpful for us because even after going through that excavation process, if their response is still, I hate you and you're a butthead, well, then that's got nothing to do with me. Yeah. We can go back to what Jesus said. Hey, they're actually against me. And we can pray for them. And like I said, we still have an opportunity to love them through that time.
Something about that, like where it's like, if you're having trouble with, because some people do have trouble with the disagreement, and like when people start disagreeing, they get heated with them, and just like reminding yourself the whole time, like, this is a child of God.
Yeah.
Let me not snap at them, but this is a child of God, and
in the general sense.
Yeah. And they are misled, and you should pray for them, and you can you can be at the end, like ask them if you want. Whoa. Ask them if they want to be prayed for, or like just pray for them, and like remind yourself, like maybe this opens up a can of worms of like there's a lot to learn.
So let me I want to get through these 3 questions because I've had a lot of these conversations. Excuse me, and I think it's very helpful. Remember, and I hope people are keeping track that hey, you don't have to have all the answers. You're engaging in conversation. But there's something behind, and I think this is a real fear for Christians, that some people are just out here trying to be malicious, where it's like, I'm trying to get you in a gotcha situation. Look at you. You're evil. You're disgusting. You think this. You're this way. And this is a way where you can, in confidence, engage in conversation. Hey, do you think homosexuality is a sin? What do you mean by that? Would be my response. And then they get to expound. Well, you Christians hate homosexuals. The next question. Well, how did you get there? Or how did you come to that conclusion? And then they say this, well, because the Bible says this and your churches teach this, and now I get to offer insight. Well, have you ever considered blank, blank, blank? And then I begin to offer. Yeah. So what did you mean by that? How did you get there, or some variation of that? And have you ever considered? It's a very helpful way of engaging the most vitriolic conversations when it comes down to handling that fear of offending people. But we can't let that fear cripple us, because if people can remember, this is warfare. Yeah. And so we're about to walk through for our final thing, and we're going to close it out on this. We're going to walk through a real life case study. I'm about to share with you, Grant, information. That's all I'm doing. That's all the Christian is called to do, right? Share information. That's what Christianity is. It's news. The gospel is news. And I'm about to share information. And people will undoubtedly find it offensive. They'll find it offensive, but I can't control that. And I want to highlight why the Christian ought to press on, even amidst the reality where this type of information people could find offensive. So before I share this information, I do want to let people know this is potentially hard to hear. This is going to be hard to hear. This is not necessarily, it's not for children, first of all. It's not for children. This is for Christians, so that you can understand the reality of the world we live in, the reality of the spiritual warfare we're in, and also the reality of the weaponry that we have been entrusted with through Christ that can actually tear these citadels or fortresses down through love and good news. And why it's such a crippling thing when the church decides, I want to stay in the hallway because I'm afraid. So I want to share about Alfred Kinsey. You've been warned. If you don't want to, just listener discretion advised. Listener discretion advised. Alfred Kinsey is seen as a sexual revolutionary. He is the creator of the Kinsey Institute at Indiana. There's a statue of him at Indiana University, and he's a creator of the Kinsey Institute. There was an article written by Karen Carter Smith called the Kinsey Report that talks about it in 2023. Kinsey wrote a book called Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, and it was published in 1948. And it's considered a landmark study in the field of human sexuality. And so this is me jumping out now, Brandon. What Kinsey did is he revolutionized the way that we even see human sexuality today. It's not to say that everything that he did is being regurgitated right now, but he definitely gave us the foundation upon which our understandings of sexuality taught in schools and universities, the way people learn it, it's the foundation upon which those things rest currently. Everything I'm sharing right now is falsifiable. You can go and read it and look it up. This still comes from Karen Carter Smith's article. Quote, in his reports, Kinsey dismissed sexual practices he deemed outliers or statistically insignificant. Pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases were ignored, along with sexual behaviors such as swinging, group sex, sadism, masochism, transvestism, voyeurism, and exhibitionism. However, homosexuality, pedophilia, and bestiality were studied in some depth. He treated sex as a part of human behavior, demystifying its discussion and bringing into focus the aspects of sexuality that define individuals by making the study scientific rather than voyeuristic. That comes from an author named Bullough in 1998. And so what that means, the translation is, Kinsey sought to take a lot of different sexual preferences and acts to show that this kind of moralistic lens we look at these things through ought to be dismissed. They're just sexual preferences that people have. And through science, we can show that it's just stuff that people enjoy and it's just nature and it ought to be accepted. And of the things that he tested, if you're keeping track, were homosexuality, pedophilia, and bestiality. It continues on. It says this is, quote, a significant incidence of intergenerational sexual behavior between minor children and adults was also reported in the study. And in this is an area that has remained controversial well after its publication, according to Bullough in 1998. This is what Bullough says, quote, one of his more criticized sections in recent years is the table based on data he gathered from pedophiles. That makes sense. P-files. So what that means is in Kinsey's work, this is Brandon talking, he has data tables and he has his conclusions from these data tables where he talks about his research involving having older males perform certain things with younger boys for research into the study of human sexuality. We're just reading here. We're just reading. This is from another article called Voices from the Past. And this is them just offering insights. And the article I just read also is a celebratory thing. It's highlighting Kinsey as a revolutionary. Listen to what Voices from the Past says. Quote, Kinsey was not only a scientist, he was a reformer. I think we know of some reformers too. He was a reformer who sought to rid himself of his personal sexual demons, while at the same time revolutionizing the repressive society in which he had grown up, unquote. This is Brandon talking. Kinsey did grow up in a religious, sterile house. His father was a religious Pharisaic man. Those are my descriptions based on what he talks about regarding him. His father actually forbade him from going into biology and told him to study engineering. Kinsey went against that and began studying biology, and then he ended up going against it even more by wanting to study sexuality and things like that. And so that's what it says about him. This is me drawing from Kinsey's notes as well. Brandon talking. Kinsey and his staff at the Kinsey Institute would also themselves engage in a lot of different sexual activity as a staff, intermaritally. He would tell his staff members and their spouses to engage in different acts and say it's for science. All of this is falsifiable. All of it, you can look it up. The Voices of the Past continues. The great accomplishment, quote, the great accomplishment was to take his pain and suffering and use it to transform himself into an instrument of social reform, a secular evangelist who proclaimed a new sensibility about human sexuality, unquote.
It is blowing my mind to hear such religious words during this. Like, they're talking about sexual demons. They're talking about the secular evangelism.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Now, I want people to know that I am leaving out a vast amount of very explicit details regarding his research. It's hard to read. I'm the type of guy that's typically willing to do that, but this is episode 2, Grant. I'm not going to do that. But I am a proponent of Christians knowing the reality of the world we're in.
yeah.
This is what the Epoch Times said in 2020. Very few people today realize that the reason children today are being sexualized at school is because pedophiles sexually abused hundreds of children, then claimed that the victims enjoyed it. That's what Kinsey's research was. His research involved men with children. Involved much more than that. And the range of the children is stomach curling. It's stomach curling. Why am I willing to read that? Am I trying to be like, what is it called, rage bait? Or am I trying to clip this to get views? No, I don't care about that. I actually don't care what people about what people think about the fact that I read that. I care about the fact that there are a lot of people right now who have scars, sexual scars, and they live in a world that's telling them, hey, the way that you cope with those sexual scars is you create more sexual scars. And here you and I are, as individuals who know that they are flesh and blood. We have a divine relationship with the creator of all living things. And we know that he has revealed in his scripture that it is appointed for man to live and die once, and then comes the judgment. How dare we stand in the hallway as the knife enters? When we know that this is the reality. When we know that the thing that is so scary for so many Christians to talk about sexuality, to talk about the beauty of sexuality, to talk about the one who created sexuality as an aspect of a glimpse of what it means to be in relationship with him. We stand in the hallway and we say nothing. Meanwhile, evangelists for the opposition trumpet in the streets while children are scarred for life.
And being actively taught that in school.
Being actively taught it in school. Not on my watch. And it shouldn't be on yours. It shouldn't be on any Christian's watch. And so my encouragement to you, believer, is that you should be vocal about these fears. Because we're human and we're flawed. And we need help. And the help we ultimately have comes from the Lord. We look to the hills from where does our help come? It comes from the Lord. And he leaves us here with one another so that we can spur each other on in love, as it says in Hebrews 10. That's why we don't forsake gathering. We gather together because we need one another. This is what evangelism is. Evangelism is living as light and salt. Be open about your fears. Don't succumb to the fear of rejection. You've been received by the King of the universe. Don't be succumb by the fear of offending others. Because Jesus himself is an offense. The most perfect man who will ever live was killed by people here. Don't be afraid of people hating you too. And don't succumb to, what was the last one? Or technically the first one. Being a fool. Don't succumb to the fear of being a fool, because Message of the cross is folly to those who are perishing. And so it is our desire not to just wipe our feet off and say, oh, well, you're perishing. It's our desire that people would see the message of the cross as beautiful as we see it. So I appreciate you guys listening to this episode. Send us your thoughts. Send us your questions. Give us your feedback. What do you want to hear us talk about? And we'll do our best to equip you to bring the one back home. Bring the one back home. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. Wage war against the darkness with good news.